Upside Down in the Middle of Nowhere, Chapter 6. A hot breeze swirled through the air, strong enough to blow some Spanish moss off the neighbor's huge oak tree. It plopped right down on top of me and Meemaw's bare feet that were pushing off the concrete, keeping the chair swinging. The moss was.
Please excuse the interruption for picture retake.
Sorry about that. The moss was nasty and tickled. I kicked my feet in a hurry to get the stuff off me before a spider or some other creepy crawly creature ran up my leg. Meemaw didn't seem to care one way or another that the spaghetti-looking weed had made itself comfortable sitting on her foot. I laid my head on Meemaw's shoulder and stared at the pillowy white clouds scooting across the blue-green sky, trying my best to ignore the kids running around the yards like fools. Meemaw, can I ask you something? What's weighing on your mind, baby? She fanned herself with a flyer from the Pentecostals who come knocking earlier trying to sell us Jesus, not realizing we already had him. Well, Tay-Tay says her daddy used to be nice before her mama turned him mean. Uh-huh. Well, is that true? I raised up my head off her shoulder. She reached up and pushed my head back down. Alvin Brown was a good boy till the devil's juice took a hold of him. Yeah, but is that true? That Tay-Tay's mom was mean? The slap of Meemaw's hand on the arm of the swing cut me off, and she looked at the palm of her hand before wiping the bug guts off the bottom part of her house dress. She stared at me over the top of her glasses, her eyebrows coming together in a perfect letter V in the center of all them wrinkles. I'm going to say this, and then I'm done. I sat on the edge of my seat. A big old clump of Spanish moss landed up on top of Meemaw's head, and it took a seat up there like a cheap wig that fell right out of the beauty shop in the sky. Georgie went hollering and pointed a finger at Meemaw. Look, Meemaw, y'all, the boy was so full of stupid it wouldn't have been surprised me none if he went and passed out just from being so full of it. Celie and Kyla were laughing and hopping. Celie and Kayla were laughing and hopping and hopping and laughing. Meemaw brushed a couple of the scraggly pieces of moss hanging off her eyes to the side like she was adjusting her hairdo. I stood up too fast and the swing went crooked, forcing Meemaw to plant her feet down on the concrete. What's wrong with all of y'all? I screamed and stomped my foot down. Both of my hands were knotted up in fists. I'm trying to have a grown-up conversation with my own Meemaw, and you're so pea-brained, Georgie. My brother was laughing harder than ever, and I wanted to march over there and knock some sense into them. My sisters were acting about as simple as their brother. Y'all are so immature. I whipped around to face Meemaw, and she sat there blowing poofs of air out the side of her mouth, making the stringy moss flop up and then settle back down in front of her eyes again. Do you like my hairdo, Meemaw? Couldn't keep a straight face. I like it, Meemaw, Georgie hollered from across the yard. Me too, giggled Celie. Me too, said Kayla. Meemaw looked at me with her bottom lip forced out in a pout, and I rolled my eyes and curled my lip. She blew out another loud poof, and the moss hair flew up again. It was funny the way she let it sit there with a gross clump on her head, and I couldn't keep from smiling no more. Meemaw smiled at me and started pulling the mess of moss off her head, and I helped her. I threw a handful of it into the air when the wind caught hold of it. The moss sailed up toward the roof and settled there. This is nasty, Meemaw. Yes, indeed, she said. I picked the last few strands of muck out of her hair, and she reached up with her hand and refluffed her hair till it looked normal. Come sit back down, Meemaw said, tapping the seat beside me where Colleen's name was carved in the wood. I want to sit with you too, Meemaw. Celie came butting right in. Like always, Meemaw scooched over and made room. Meemaw leaned close to my ear and whispered, We'll talk about your cousin's mama later, and she rubbed my leg and pushed off with her feet, sending the chair into a swing. I let out a loud sigh, and Meemaw pushed Celie's head down onto her other shoulder and went waving her fan again. Whatever. Sometimes I hated having brothers and sisters. I took my finger and traced the letters of my dead uncle Shelton's name carved into the arm of the swing. Shel. How many hurricanes have you been in, Meemaw? Celie and her stupid questions. Oh my, more than I care to remember. Really? Celie sat up from and faced Meemaw. What's it like? I kept on tracing the letters and put my focus on my ears. Well, every storm is different, Meemaw said. They've all got their own personality, I guess you could say. Some aren't so bad. You get some rain and some wind and might even lose electricity. And others, well, others you just get down on your knees and thank the good Lord you came to the other side alive. Meemaw had a faraway look in her eyes, and her body somehow got heavier on the swing. What kind of storm do you suppose Katrina's going to be? I asked. You figure it'd be one of those get down on your knees storms? Meemaw planted her feet so fast I had to grab a hold of the armchair to keep from falling out and landing on my head. Child, don't you even think that. Meemaw looked straight into my eyes with her face all ugly scrunched. She squished her eyes shut, mumbled some words to the Lord, and took a big suck of air and pushed it out with such force that it caused her lips to vibrate. Then, just as quick as the ice melts in August, she settled back in the chair, and the fan went to fanning, and her face smoothed out. She gave the concrete a nudge, and we went on swinging again. Meemaw pushed my head down on her shoulder, forgetting to be gentle about it, and patted my leg. We're going to be fine. Yes, indeed. We're going to be just fine. And I blinked about 50 times and breathed in some thick, muggy air. After Mama and Daddy got back from the store, the sky felt alive and it had turned dark pink, orangey brown color. It was pretty, but I got to thinking how I had never seen colors painted across the sky before, like it was God right on the other side of them colors, and I shivered. Looking at the black and night through my bedroom window made me worry about what might be out there that I couldn't see. Usually I don't like sharing the bed with Celie, but right then I was grateful to have the feel of her next to me. I was all about sound asleep when Celie threw back the sheet, hopped out of bed, and grabbed the book sack off the stack of stuffed animals piled in the corner. She opened the sack, looked inside, and zipped it up and put it on her back, then jumped back in the bed. Celie, what are you doing? I yelled in a whisper. Nothing, Armani. Go to sleep. What do you mean, nothing? You can't be bringing all that old dirty bag of yours to my bed. And I started pulling back the sheet to make it easier for her to get up, but Celie wasn't moving. First of all, my book sack ain't dirty, Armani. And second, it's my bed too. Just go to sleep. Celie must have bumped her head. She took that bag with her everywhere, but she sure never brought it to bed. As long as it don't come on my side, you hear me, Celie? Celie made a huge yawn sound. Yeah, I hear you. Good night, Armani. I love you. Yeah, whatever. I flopped to the left and flopped to the right, trying to find a comfortable position to make sure Celie knew that the dumb bag was making the whole bed uncomfortable. It didn't work, though, because she fell asleep faster than Mama could fry an egg, and I was left wide awake listening to the sounds they were bringing in the storm. I tried to force my brain to think about my party and what I might be getting for a present, but all I could do was think about the colors in the sky. Daddy buying water, the scrunched up, worried look on Meemaw's face, Celia sleeping with her stupid book sack, the Baba news evacuating.